Hi there. So I'm back with another Spectator article, and I may end up posting these in a different order than when they were made. So, like when you see here, it says Spectator number 4. That means this is the fourth one that I made. But due to which of them deal with current events, they may come out in a different order, just so you know. But this article in particular has a little bit of a backstory to it. So, if you would indulge me. For one thing, I've always loved Dr. Seuss. When I was a kid, I loved it for the colorful books and all that stuff and the rhyming. And then as an adult, I learned to appreciate the way and the skill with which he was able to present very adult ideas through his drawing and his writing for children. But there's more to why this particular article really got my attention. When I was in high school, 30 plus years ago, but when I was in high school, I had an AP history teacher who used to teach us an awful lot through the use of political cartoons. It was like every other month we would get this packet that would have, 20 or so political cartoons in them, and the assignment was to simply interpret these political cartoons. And it really gave me a great love of the satirical nature of political cartoons and really the intelligence of them. There's some of the most meaningful mediums to give the politics and the perception of or opinion of things of the day. And so I really love political cartoons. And so the fact that Dr. Seuss was originally a political cartoonist, obviously this, as you will see, this article is going to be one that's going to spark my interest. So that's why I'm sharing this particular article. Now, this article, I'm going to show you the first political cartoon that I am going to show you while I go through and start reading this article, is the one that is being specifically referred to in this article. But as I said, I do love political cartoons, so I am also going to include a couple other of Dr. Seuss's political cartoons dealing with the same subject, just for, visual pleasure as we go through this article. It's not a long one. None of them really are, which is one of the many things I like about the Spectator's articles, is that it gets very close, gets to the heart of the matter very quickly. But I do hope that you enjoy this. Nick Newman, How Dr. Seuss Took on American Isolationism. A cartoon is doing the rounds online, critiquing American isolationism and the reluctance to engage with the war in Europe. It lampoons the head in the first myopia of the America First movement and feels highly relevant today. But this cartoon isn't new. It is from 1941, and its targets aren't Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, but Charles Lindbergh and Joseph Kennedy. The cartoon, while acerbic, has a cozy, familiar quality reminiscent of children's books. For good reason. It was drawn by Dr. Seuss. Long before the cat donned his hat and the Grinch stole Christmas, Dr. Seuss's real name, Theodore Seuss Geisel, was a political cartoonist. He produced some 400 drawings for the liberal New York paper, PM, and was a vociferous critic of America's reluctance to engage with the fascist menace in Europe. He was particularly critical of Lindbergh, an aviator hero, appeaser, and possible German political party sympathizer, whom he often depicted as an ostrich called Lindy. Geisel was born in 1904 of immigrant descent, and all four of his grandparents were German. He consequently took a keen interest in events in Europe. He attended New Hampshire's elite Dartmouth College and Lincoln College, Oxford, where he intended to become a doctor of philosophy and English literature. Instead, he became Dr. Seuss. His future wife persuaded him to forgo a teaching career to concentrate on drawing, and so Geisel headed into the world of animation and advertising, plugging everything from bug sprays to Ford Motors. But it was the rumblings of war in Europe that turned him to political cartooning. His canon of work was almost forgotten until the publication in 1999 of Dr. Seuss Goes to War by Richard H. Minier. As Art Spiegelman, creator of the graphic novel Moss, wrote with disbelief in the introduction, "What? Dr. Seuss, beloved purveyor of genial rhyming nonsense for beginning readers, stuff about cats and hats and foxes and socks, started as a feisty political cartoonist who exhorted America to do battle with the German dictator? Yeah, right. This cartoon's populated with sinister comic beasts and drawn with charm and childish glee, rail against the isolationism, racism, and anti-Semitism that was rampant in pre-war America. The cartoon, currently being shared online and pictured on the opposite page, depicts the great U.S. sideshow in which two men with their Siamese beard are conjoined by their facial hair in a freak show. One is a German political party emblazoned with a German symbol, the other a proud supporter of America First. I do truly hate the fact that on YouTube you can't speak like an adult about meaningful topics. Launched in 1940, the America First Committee gained 800,000 members before it was dissolved 4 days after the attack on Pearl Harbor in December 1941. The AFC argued that America was powerful enough to withstand any attack, and that the German political party, if they were to win the war in Europe, it would not jeopardize American national security. The AFC was founded by R. Douglas Stewart, Jr., the heir to the Quaker Oats Company fortune, and was backed by millionaires such as Henry Ford, who was a notorious anti-Semite. The U.S. ambassador to the Court of St. James, Joseph Kennedy, father to John F. and Bobby, was another admirer and had to resign his diplomatic post as a result. Actress Lillian Gish and architect Frank Lloyd Wright also joined the band of America First fanatics. The AFC's most famous supporter, however, was the all-American hero Charles Lindbergh. He had conquered the Atlantic with a non-stop solo flight and endured the tragedy of his son's kidnapping and murder. It was at Lindbergh who Dr. Seuss aimed his nib, with a succession of cartoons belittling Lindy the ostrich. "Get your ostrich bonnet here," proclaims one banner in a 1941 cartoon. That's the one on the screen right now. "Relieves the German dictator headache. Forget the terrible news you've read. Your mind's at ease in an ostrich head." The rhyme is typical Seussian verse, which later proved the hallmark of his children's books. Other traits of Seuss's political cartooning influenced his later work, and indeed many of the bizarre creatures he used to attack America's First would reappear in his children's books. An image of an isolationist whale stranded on a mountain found its way into his 1955 book, On Beyond Zebra. Yertle the Turtle, published in 1958, began life as a political cartoon which satirized dawdling wartime business. The turtles balance on each other's shells to form a V sign, with the message, "You can't build a substantial V out of turtles." An early incarnation of Yertle even sported a mustache like the German dictator. "I'm subversive as hell. I've always had a mistrust of adults." The Cat in the Hat is a revolt against authority, Geisel declared. Unfortunately, Dr. Seuss's reputation has been tarnished. His depictions of the Japanese during the war were undoubtedly racist. And then, in 2021, his estate, Dr. Seuss Enterprises, removed 6 of his books from publication for portraying people in hurtful and wrong ways. Ironically, the children's drawings by the scourge of anti-Semitism in the 1940s were later deemed to be subliminally anti-Semitic. It's sad that his role resisting fascism is often forgotten, particularly given that his war record was impressive. By 1943, he had joined the U.S. Army, where he was put in command of the animation department of the 1st Motion Picture Unit. He wrote films with Frank Capra, and along with Bugs Bunny creator Chuck Jones, collaborated on the Private Snafu animation series. His 1947 documentary, Designed for Death, about the origins of the war with Japan, won an Oscar. All were forms of political propaganda, of course, as were many of his children's books. But at their best, his cartoons were, as Art Spiegelman said, very impressive evidence of cartooning as an art of persuasion. Today, Dr. Seuss's cartoons are still a reminder of our special relation America has formed when it comes to putting itself first. Now, this article in particular, in addition to the fact that, like I said, I do have an appreciation for political cartoons as a medium for persuading, but I also do love Dr. Seuss, Oh, the Places You'll Go. It's a fantastic poem for people, for adults, more so than even for kids. As for the political situation, if you want my opinion, I'm happy to give it. But I did say that these weren't going to be political, but obviously it's hard to avoid with this particular article, which I read not for the political information that it is, but more, like I said, the appreciation of political cartoons. But the only concern that I have, and I'll be pretty open. I mean, if you go back, I did an interview with HD Tutor where I was talking about, if I ruled the world, what would my perfect world include? And I made it clear, I am an America First person in terms of today. Do I think America was right to get involved in World War II? Absolutely. But the one thing that concerns me is there seems to be a desire to make a connection between the German dictator and Putin. And I don't think we're really talking about anywhere near the same thing. I don't consider Putin to be the same sort of evil. And I could be wrong. I mean, obviously, I'd be the first one to say I probably haven't educated myself as much as I ought to on the topic. I think my position is more derived from the fact that, listen, when the United States is prosperous and succeeding and its people are cared for, I have no problem getting involved in foreign affairs. However, right now, I am seeing in the United States a time where we don't have that luxury. And I feel like right now we need to focus on America first. It's not quite the same situation as saying there is an evil fascist dictator that we need to overcome for the sake of the world. Could that come about soon? Yes, it may. That situation, should it arise, would be a very different one than what I'm seeing now. But what I see now is that the United States needs to focus on itself for its own sake, not because I am opposed to getting involved in foreign affairs. It's the situation in America that I'm concerned with now, more so than the foreign situation that causes my current isolationist preference. So, just a little bit of information for you there, just to know where I'm coming from when I say that I don't want to continue to get involved in foreign affairs. It's not for lack of compassion or lack of interest or lack of even the feeling that it should be something the United States should get involved in. Maybe it should. But right now, it's just we have other problems that we need to deal with first, because kind of the same thing like when you're in an airplane, right? What do they say? Put the mask on yourself because you can't help anyone else unless you're conscious and able to breathe. Same sort of thing. The United States can't help anyone else until they put their safety mask on first. So, take that for what it's worth. I hope that sort of explains my position a little bit better. So, thank you very much for listening. I hope you have a great day, filled with love, laughter, and of course, dancing.
Dancing in